Animal Ancestors. Written and illustrated by John Hughes.
Animals from another time. Can you imagine a world with horses the size of small dogs, whales that walk, and birds 3 meters tall? They all lived on Earth at some time in the last 60 million years. They are now extinct, but their relatives live on, and you'll probably know them very well. Fossils like this tell us what the ancestors of today's animals looked like. In this book, you'll find out about some amazing animal ancestors from long ago. You'll also find out about their closest living relatives. There is a size guide on each page showing the animal ancestor next to an adult human. You may be surprised by the size of the animals. Can you guess what the ancestors of these animals look like? The in-between dog, or amphicyanid. Another name for the in-between dog is the bear dog, because it's an ancestor of both bears and dogs. Bear dogs lived across Asia and North America until about 9 million years ago. Scientists have found footprint fossils which show that the bear dog walked like bears do now. It moved its 2 left legs together first, then the 2 right legs. The bear dog lived in underground dens and fed on smaller animals. It was a strong digger and could burrow after its prey. Closest living relatives: bear and dog. The Argentine bird, or Argentavis. The remains of this huge bird were found in Argentina in South America. It lived there until about 5 million years ago. It was the largest ever flying bird. It was 1.5 meters high, with wings that measured 7.5 meters across. Each wing feather could be as long as 1.5 meters. This ancient bird ate small animals such as lizards, mice, and rabbits. It also ate fish. Closest living relatives: stork and vulture. The Indric beast, or Indricotherium. This animal lived in Asia about 30 million years ago. It was the largest ever mammal to walk on land. The very biggest of these creatures grew to about 4.5 meters high. It had a long neck that made it even taller so that it could reach leaves high up in the trees. It was also a very heavy animal. A really big one weighed 15,000 kilograms. That's much heavier than the largest rhino. Closest living relative: rhinoceros. The earth mole, or mammoth. People used to believe that this animal was a giant which lived underground and died when it saw daylight. But we know now that the mammoth was a type of large elephant. The bones of mammoths have often been found half buried in frozen parts of the world, but in fact they lived in many different places. Those that lived in cold countries had long fur to keep them warm. Mammoths grew up to 3 meters high and ate mostly grass and bushes. They had 2 long tusks, which they used to protect themselves from attackers. Closest living relative. Elephant. The middle horse, or Mesohippus. About 40 million years ago, this small dog-sized animal grew to look like a little horse. But unlike a horse, it didn't have hoofs on its feet. Instead, it had 3 toes on each foot. It was only about 52 centimeters high, but it had long legs. This meant that it could run fast and escape from saber-toothed cats and other meat-eating animals. This shy little animal ate only fruit and leaves. Closest living relative. Horse. The Pakistan whale, or Pachycetus. Fossils of this animal have been found in Pakistan. They are 54 million years old. This ancient creature is an ancestor of the whale. It had legs rather than flippers, so it could walk on land. It also had nostrils at the end of its snout, rather than a blowhole on the top of its head. This animal was a meat-eater, and probably hunted fish and other small mammals that lived in or near to water. Closest living relative. Whale. The giant short-faced kangaroo, or Procoptodon. This animal lived in Australia until about 50,000 years ago. It weighed up to 200 kilograms. That's more than twice as heavy as today's biggest kangaroo. Each of the creature's hind feet had one single large claw, like a hoof. Its long arms could stretch up over its head, and its long, grabbing fingers could reach leaves high up on trees. It was able to chew really tough leaves with its strong jaw. Closest living relative. Kangaroo. The saber tooth, or Smilodon. Another name for the Smilodon is the saber-toothed cat. Many well-preserved fossil skeletons of these creatures have been found in California, USA. The saber-toothed cat was very fierce. It had 2 long, sword-shaped teeth, which it used to kill its prey. It could open its mouth very wide, almost twice as wide as a lion. It had short, sturdy legs and a very short tail. It couldn't run very fast, so it probably hid, then pounced on its prey. Closest living relative. Lion. The terror bird, or Titanis. This giant bird lived about 2 million years ago in North America. It couldn't fly because it didn't have wings, but it did have arms covered in feathers. This bird stood nearly 3 meters high and could run very fast. It was a meat-eater and hunted small animals, using sharp claws and a very large beak to grip and kill them. Closest living relative. Moorhen.